so I wanted to spend some time reviewing the buyer financial information form, also known as BFI. Again, the contents of the document itself are pretty self-explanatory. Once you go through this, it will make a lot of sense for what it's asking for. So we'll step through it in a second. However, I did just want to take a couple of minutes to talk about, what this is, why it's used, when it's used, and so forth, right? So in short, buyer financial information form is a supplemental uh, administrative item that will be sent as part of an agreement of sale offer package. It simply discloses the buyer or buyer's financial details as they are bidding on a house. So that is what it is in short. This will be all, if you're working with me on the buy side, this will be something that we get signed pretty early on in the process. It's not property specific, so it's kind of a once and done situation. If you're working with me on the sale side, these are things that we will be reviewing as part of the offer packages that are coming over. A common question I get is, well, why do we have to disclose this? Why are we entering this information when the lender is the one that pre-approved us, or the lender is the one that's giving us the loan? It's a really good question. The short answer is it's supplemental information to help the consumer, in this case, on the sale side, make an educated decision on an offer. Similar to how we may have together reviewed sellers' disclosure statements. That's a disclosure on the property, any known material defects, et cetera, et cetera. This is very similar on the buy side to help the seller kind of understand a little bit more what's going on. Again, it's fairly new over the last few years, but it's been a useful document in those situations where there are a handful of offers to pick from, right? It's a hyper competitive market. In some cases, this can be something that helps you stand out as a buyer and differentiate yourself from the field. So those are a couple of the points I wanted to hit on. The other thing I wanted to touch on too is, as you go through this, it's important to try to be as accurate as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, especially when we get to some of the assets and liabilities and this value versus that value. You can round up to whole dollars. It's nothing that you need to be precise on. Obviously, it is important that you are being honest, right? If you make $80,000, you can't round up and say you make 100,000. That doesn't make sense. But you can, you know, if your minimum educational loan ends in 75 cents, sure, round it up, not a big deal, 5 or 10 bucks. So let's go ahead and step through this really quick, pretty straightforward. Buyer or buyers are going to fill out their name up top. Some pretty self-explanatory questions here about whether you're occupying the property. Have there been any financial claims, lawsuits, legal issues against you? Assets, this is anything that can be liquidated to purchase the property, even if you don't intend to liquidate it. So keep that in mind. Let's say you have $100,000 in a checking account and you're using $50,000 of that for a down payment, but you have 401ks, IRAs, other things. You want to list that here just to help the seller see the full picture. Same thing with liabilities. Think student loans, credit card payments, car payments. If you're currently renting, you can put that there, although it's implied that that expense should be going away. If you have any current real estate, right? So if you have a few rental properties, there's space here to include 2 of them. This only shows, again, there's a section at the end we'll get to that are like additional terms. This area here only allows you to plug in the value and the monthly payment. So you're going to want to make sure that we delineate down below that that is a cash flowing property, and although it's a liability, it's also a source of income. Page 2 is a good one. I think this is one of the areas that a lot of sellers will look at the most, is your employment history, right? They want to see how many years you've been on the job, what how stable is your employment, right? And they might, all things considered equal, 2 offers are exactly the same. There's not much more room to go on dollars. They may be more inclined to accept an offer of a buyer that has been at a job for 20 years versus one that just started 3 months ago. Again, it's one more data point for that seller to make a decision. It is really getting into like the umpteenth degree of separation. So keep that in mind. Again, salary, pretty self-explanatory here. If you have any bonuses, commissions, equity stakes, important to include that here. And then I always encourage clients to use this last section to go ahead and add any other color that might not have been easily captured above, right? So that rental property example is a good one. Anything else, maybe you're getting a gift check from a parent because you were just married, or whatever the case was, right? Maybe you just sold something, or you're planning on selling something in the next couple of weeks that you can't technically declare as a source of income today, or maybe it's not liquid today, but it might be liquid in 2 weeks. So you could use this section here to cover all of that. Again, at the end, we're just going to sign, date, and this is going to then be the form we will include with every offer. Again, no need to be concerned from a privacy perspective. Some people don't like to disclose this to either their realtor or the seller. As your realtor, we have a confidential relationship, so it is my duty not to share this outside of the context of your transaction. And same with the other side on the listing side. So that's really important to know. I know it can be uncomfortable at times to fill this out, but it is commonplace in today's marketplace where, again, hyper competitive industry, sellers and listing agents are requesting this to be sent over with the offer. So it's better to have it done before we even really start looking at houses so that we can go ahead and have it ready to go for each individual offer that we're sending over. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll move on to our next document.